Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pan Future Society podcast. I am your host, Sean, and today is Saturday, July 29th, 2017. Nothing major up front this week, but I think I will try to be a little more diligent in posting some blog stuff on the website. I do actually have a blog there, separate from the regular podcast show page information, but I don't make a whole lot of use for it because a lot of the things that I might blog about end up in the show anyway. But the last few weeks I've run across a few interesting articles and a few longer articles and essays from other people that I would like to point in the direction of. Including a discussion of truth in the modern era and the nature of scientific discovery, the way people approach creative ideas, and another interesting thing was an infographic about H.G. Wells, and it kind of caught my eye as being related to issues of imagination and dreaming that I have talked about lately, and I've got a few things on the show today for that. H.G. Wells was really kind of incredible. I will post the link to this thing and go have a look at it and take in all the things that he basically predicted at a time when they seemed ridiculous to think that they would be real, maybe. And this idea of imagination keeps coming up with me lately because I see a lot of comments on things that are science related that people are just like, oh, that'll never happen. We can't do that. And God, people are so pessimistic. I mean, I know there's reasons to feel that way right now, but stop it. Enjoy the thought process of imagining what could be. It's really amazing. And with that, I guess we'll get on with the news of the moment. First item this week. A team of Finnish scientists has created a device that can basically make food out of air and water and a few other simple materials. It is a container that acts as a catalyst or a catalyzing container. They call it a bioreactor. They use electrolysis. And you put in electricity, water, carbon dioxide, and microbes. This synthetic food that it produces, then separated out of the water and dried, is 50% protein and 25% carbohydrates. I don't know what the other 25% is. Maybe it's moisture or fairy dust. I don't know. Who knows? But the idea here especially is to use renewable energy like wind and solar to make this bioreactor run. And then you get a food, which I guess the texture can be changed by changing the microbes present. You can do things to change the nutrient content. And it's a really fascinating idea to basically have this thing that makes synthetic food. You're skipping a lot of processes in between from, getting where we might normally get from bacteria to plants to animals eating the plants, and then we eat the animals. We're skipping a lot of steps in between there. The device now is very small, about the size of a coffee cup, and they are expecting now to spend the next 10 years or so trying to scale it up and make it more efficient. Right now, it takes 2 weeks to make 1 gram of protein. So right now, not very practical at all, but I think the fact that you can do this at all is fascinating, and I can see an endless application for this, especially in not only emergency situations, but deep space travel. Instead of having to store all your food and take it with you, or grow it along the way and hope that nothing goes wrong. You can just have these vats that make stuff that you can eat, and I don't know, you'd have to do something to keep it from getting too boring or whatever, but I think it's a fascinating technology. Like many things, it'll take a while to get it into the practical realm, but I think the value of this kind of thing is so high, people will continue working on it until they've got something good going. So there is your food bioreactor. Not quite a Star Trek replicator, but pretty close, eh? And now...
It came from outer space.
In this week's space news, NASA has awarded a contract to Lockheed Martin to continue work on the next phase of the Next Step Habitat program. They are entering phase 2 to be used in conjunction with the Space Launch System and the Orion spacecraft. The Next Step program, which stands for Next Space Technologies for Exploration Partnership, started in 2014, and now that they're moving on to phase 2, they are working on a habitat that can be used in deep space. Building on what's been learned from the International Space Station, the Deep Space Gateway will serve as a spaceport in lunar orbit that will facilitate exploration near the moon and will eventually lead to the technologies that can be used farther afield, like Mars or in just general deep space use. The design for this set to NASA specifications of what constitutes an effective habitat includes crew module, docking capability, environmental control, life support, logistics management, radiation mitigation and monitoring, monitoring, fire safety technology, and crew health capabilities. This deep space gateway will also include power bus, a small habitat to extend crew time, and other logistics modules that would be intended for scientific research. The propulsion system on this station would also allow the station to transfer to different orbits around the moon when it would be required to. So, taking something like the International Space Station and expanding on its capabilities quite a bit, and also assuming, presumably allowing the crew to stay there much longer than they do now on the ISS. So that's pretty cool. We are on our way to developing the technology to have long-term deep space exploration going on. And that was your news of the moment. And on the main segment this week, some more thoughts about alien life and whether or not we are alone in the universe. So let's say there is someone out there. Should we make contact? There are two schools of thought on this, both supported by some very well-respected and knowledgeable thinkers like Stephen Hawking and Carl Sagan. If we did find other life, what would it mean for our society? What if we found intelligent life? And would the answer to that question change if that intelligence found us first? We here on Earth are the only data point for life in the universe so far, so any thoughts one way or the other are at best educated speculation. But that's what we are here for. Let's speculate and feed that imagination. On the question of some sort of bacterial or simple invertebrate life, I think having that answer would be an astonishing scientific discovery, but might not have a huge impact on our society. At this point, as I talked about last week, it seems like the numbers must be in favor of there being something out there somewhere. I've occasionally heard some religious leaders tiptoe into deeper waters, saying that the Bible doesn't necessarily preclude life on other planets or elsewhere in the universe. But then again, bacteria doesn't really present much of a threat to dogma. and the public at large has lived with the question of life on other worlds and the occasional tempting near answers, and with much speculation in the realm of fiction for a very long time, so simple life might just be a confirmation of what people already think. Whether it be found in the oceans under Europa's ice or in the spectrograph of a planet's atmosphere, any life would be an awesome discovery, but I think not immediately world-shaking for a lot of people. But given that answer, are we alone? The answer might still be sort of yes. For scientists, it would greatly expand the scope of astrobiology, perhaps even giving researchers direct access to examples of life off planet Earth. Astrobiology already has a long history at NASA, but it mostly consists of speculation and nope, no life here. The scientific tools available keep improving, though, and it's becoming technically feasible to look for life directly, not just make guesses. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would change things, but I'm not expecting panic or jubilation in the streets from finding amoeba on Titan. The change might be slow, gradual, soaking into our culture like new technology does. First, it's new and exciting and expensive, and then seemingly overnight, it's normal and ordinary. Or maybe it's a sliding scale, running the spectrum of excitement and upheaval with bacteria at one end, passing through more complex animals, leading to intelligent life at the other end of the spectrum. On that other end, if we make contact or discover in some way an intelligent species, that would make much larger waves. On this meeting with an intelligent species, there are some, like Carl Sagan, who would welcome it, whether by intentional contact or coincidental discovery, saying that it would force us to reassess our place in the universe and come to terms with our foolish differences. He and others have also expressed an enthusiasm for the potential of rapid growth in our scientific knowledge. On the side generally opposing reaching out to aliens on purpose, you'll find, among others, the eminent Stephen Hawking. His opposition is primarily in attempting to reach out to call attention to ourselves. His concern is that in our current technological state, we would only serve up a ripe target for conquest. Sagan and others have argued that anyone who could travel all the way here would not be in the conquering mindset. I suppose to put it in pop sci-fi terms, it's actually, I think, pretty unlikely that the Klingons, with their warlike culture, would have ever made it across intergalactic space. Then again, perhaps a runaway AI makes something like the Borg or the Reapers from Mass Effect, and we're in big trouble. To wave hello to the galaxy or not? It's a question that has played out in many sci-fi works, and the outcomes have run the spectrum from great idea to terrible idea, sometimes even in the same story. I think it's also possible that no one will find us until we become at least widespread in our own solar system, simply because we aren't making enough noise yet. I'll link to some articles covering thoughts on this subject in the notes. And, of course, this all might be a moot point if that intelligent life finds us first, even if we try to hide. In that case, we will probably do what humans do in fiction and in real life. We will wing it and hope for the best. I hope that should the day come that we find we are truly not alone, not only in being an example of life, but in being a life form that can contemplate its place in the universe, we will set aside our differences and join a galactic civilization, trying to fulfill our potential. Even if that alien life is a threat, perhaps that will be the thing that finally binds us all as one. It's in our isolation, our arrogant assumption that we are alone and that all this is just for us, that we allow ourselves to hate, to divide, to fool, and to cheat each other. We can't seem to understand that being human and being an earthling should come first. In the scope of universal expanse and galactic timescales, the dogma of one tiny dirt patch versus another is petty, foolish, and meaningless. We need to finally throw away our dogma, our politics, our religion, at least so far as it makes us hate those unlike ourselves. Be human first, and let the rest be what it may. Now is a good time to go reread or listen to Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot. Now, back that last segment up, and instead of being not alone, change the wording so that we truly are alone. We are the only life we ever find that can contemplate its place in the universe. Then reread the rest of the paragraph. Comes to the same sentiment. Again, as Arthur C. Clarke said, either we are alone or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. I actually find it more frightening to contemplate being alone than to contemplate being invaded by aliens. That makes our wars and our hate seem even more stupid. If we don't survive and spread to the stars, all of human history will be rendered meaningless. So be human first, and let the rest be what it may. And I haven't said this in a while, but I used to mention it from time to time in the show. Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. And go dream, people. Use your imaginations. It will do you some good. All right, that's the show this week. Thank you, as always, for joining me here. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your comments and all the emails and comments you leave on the show and all that stuff too. If you would like to do so, go to panfuture.org. You can email me there. There's a donate link. I'm contemplating some new things for the future, so stay tuned. There might be some new stuff underway for you to enjoy. Anyway, I guess that's all I got. The usual thanks. Go to the website, check out the things, do the stuff with the other things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. I will talk to you again in the future.
to fly. To fly.